Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker, your host of That Girl the Podcast. I'm an author, performer, 2-time Emmy Award winner, human relationship specialist, and founder of the wellness website loveyouevenmore.com. Each week I bring on inspiring people and experts in their field to have powerful, motivational, and enlightened conversations about relationships, self-development, and how you can live your most authentic life. Follow us for daily updates on myself and the podcast at That Girl the Podcast and at Jackie Brubaker on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and our Patreon page. While you're at it, make sure to check out my new wellness website, loveyouevenmore.com. If you're wanting to dig into developing more self-worth, be healthier about relationships, and learn how to date smarter, go to loveyouevenmore.com and follow us on Instagram at loveyouevenmore. Welcome, Lisa Van Loo, to That Girl the Podcast. I am so excited to have you on today. We're going to get into it. But before we get into that, Lisa is a relationship and dating coach. She is huge on TikTok. She makes amazing videos. If you are trying to hack relationships, dating, all of this stuff, she is honest. She is on it. I love this girl. I found you on TikTok and was like, I need to reach out to her. I like her. So today we are going to talk about what is happening with, how do we, help me with the title. Let's figure out the title because it's a lot. It's kind of heated.
I mean, I don't even know. It's like so many things. I think it's truly like a shift in the dating culture and awareness of sort of our like misogynistic culture that's happening out there. I think women are tired. Yeah, like tired. If that's like, you know, in a nutshell, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's about, we're going to talk about women speaking up for themselves, going after what they really want, making sure that we are shutting down inappropriate behavior with men. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a feministy episode. So that's what we're doing today. But first, I did kind of give you an intro, but explain even more of who you are and what you do so people can get to know you better.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And like I was saying, it was like kind of kismet when you landed into my inbox. And I've always wanted to do more podcasts and more stuff. So I'm loving looking at your show and your content too. I got started as a dating coach. I actually started about 2 years ago, built my blog and started, going down the TikTok, spiral and building content. And at the same time too, I was progressing in my own relationship. So I struggled with dating for a very long time, most of my life. Dated in New York City for almost a decade. And
That's
so I've dated every single type of guy. I've dated a lot. So I hope that other people don't have to go through what I went through. But I sort of hacked my own brain and figured out what I was doing wrong and how I could find a true committed relationship that I wanted, that I constantly struggled to find. And now I'm getting married in September and, we're super excited about that. So I'm really open and vulnerable online and social. I use a lot of my own story and just, from my memories and experiences, and it's resonated, which is great, and so I get really, fulfilled by helping other women. And, I've even had some men asking for help and I'm like, you guys are on your own right now, but there's a lot going on. And I think dating and is getting more complex. With the digital era and dating apps and how busy everybody is, it's challenging. So I hope to be a good support for my community.
Right. I think you are. You're doing great work. You're also very funny. So that makes it nice too. While it can all be very heavy with dating and, heartbreak and all of this stuff, like you actually bring some humor to it, which I think is always very helpful. So we decided to do this because I was like, I've had in the last 2 weeks, a lot of triggers with men and pushback and misogyny, really, critical, comments, all kind of things. And it just really came to a head this morning. Even I was like, God, like this is intense. And I hate dating apps, but once in a blue moon, I will jump on just in case my soulmate is there. And most times he's not, but I try anyway. I'm like, let me look. And basically, in a nutshell, I had barely spoken to this person. I had sent like 1 or 2 texts, and he was like coming on strong with a like, let's plan a date. How about this day? Let's go here. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, text. And I was just like, good God, like, I don't even know if I want to like go out with you, much less like date anyone right now. So I wasn't responding. And then I like looked this morning at the conversation he was basically having with himself at this point. And he's just like, last chance to go out with me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, just calm down. And then he says, and this is a first, he says, are you even a real person? If you're a bot, I will report. And I was like, whoa. Now I coach men on dating actually, and I love coaching men on dating. Yes. So I help really nice guys who don't have very good game or like just don't know how to like be with women actually get a girl in like a nice guy way, but without, with some swag. Right. So I get it. I do understand the other side somewhat, but I was like, I've never been asked if I'm a bot. So I'm like, okay, like I know that's a thing in the dating world and guys are getting, hit up by like, I don't know, companies that just basically want to take their money. Cool. I get it. And so I respond to this guy at 7:15 in the morning because I'm just like, Jesus. And I'm like, no, I'm not a bot. I've just been contemplating whether or not I want to be dating right now. I'm kind of going through a lot. Sorry if I confused you. And then I take a moment and I suddenly feel after these 2 weeks of being quite triggered by men who are clearly trying to get the better of me. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Like something feels really wrong. Like in my gut, just everything is like, something's wrong. And so I go, for the record, just because someone's not responding doesn't mean they're a bot. It could mean that they're busy or they're not interested. I think that you should, you were coming on really strong. You should maybe look at your own actions before just assuming that the woman is at fault, that you're suddenly victimized here. Now, again, for my male listeners who are listening, I understand it's rough out there. There are companies trying to get you, but most of us are not. And the fact that he was just and then he does respond immediately, which was shocking. He's like, oh, cool. Good to know. Like, do you still want to go out? I'd still love to take you out. And I was like, okay, no. Clearly you're a glutton for punishment, but also like, did you not just read the signs? I just told you, I'm not even sure if I want to date anyone. And also you're coming on super strong. And he says, I don't know how I'm coming on strong, which that's his stuff. Right. So I'm like, you know what? I don't think this is a good match. Good luck to you. I know it sucks out there. And then he just deletes me, which is fine because I deleted myself off the app. I was like, no, thank you. We're good. I'm going to keep doing it in person. But it just triggered me. And I was like, what happened? And this is what we're talking about. What happened was that suddenly I felt that it was my responsibility to make him feel better for something he made up in his mind that had nothing to do with me. And I, as a woman and as women, we are the nurturers. We are the caretakers. We want to make sure you're okay, even if we don't know you. God forbid we hurt your feelings. I was suddenly in oh, I'm so sorry if I made you feel that way. And then I stepped back because everything in my body was like, no. And my whole body was like, no, stand up for yourself. And as in a personal note, and then I'm almost done with this, and then you can absolutely talk. On a personal note, it was super triggering to me because I had a very critical father who, if I ever spoke up on anything, would just, be super critical and scary. So that's terrifying as a woman. And also as women, our greatest fear is that we will be killed by men. I'm sorry. That's inherently how we feel. Please don't kill me as I walk to my car or if I say something to you. So I had to look at my text of the whole, for the record, you were coming on strong. I was like, is that too much? Is that too much? And it wasn't. It was a boundary, but it was terrifying because I was so deeply triggered. So there's that. So that's what's up, right? That is a very small microcosm of dating, but it's the full version, I think, of what women are feeling, especially right now since Roe v. Wade, etc. Take the mic.
That's a lot. And I think, people have, the dating apps can be tough. I think that I'm very big on like using it as a tool. So when you like are 100% sure, like I'm ready to date, I'm going to use it to meet people, period. Like, and not spending a lot of time, chatting, because there's just, it's just a waste of your energy, and it's like, get the people in person. But I think there's a lot going on here. And obviously with, I almost like lost my mind a few weeks ago with the Roe v. Wade stuff. I've always been very open and honest about my own experience with abortion and women's rights. And it's always been a part of who I am, but I had this like epiphany, and something that I had a follower mention something to me before was like, you never really talk about men. Like you don't really talk about the misogynistic culture or their behavior, how they need to shape up. And I was sort of like, well, I'm a coach that helps women, and we can't control their behavior, but I'm going to try to help you navigate through the climate that we're dealing with. But ever since Roe v. Wade, I sort of had like a wake up moment where it's much bigger than, than what we think. I think it's pretty obvious what our culture thinks of us as, maybe making second class citizens. Yeah. And so it really has shifted my mindset, even as a coach. So I picked up this book that my grandma had, and I shared it on Instagram recently. She recently passed away. And the book is called The Cinderella Complex. And
my God, I already relate. Oh my God. I was just talking about that like 10 minutes ago. I was like, I literally feel like a Cinderella, and I know I'm not alone in that. Go on.
Yes. It was written in 1980, but as I picked up the book, and it had been sitting on my nightstand for a while, and you just like things happen for a reason. I picked it up with everything going on. And it's all about the way as women, we are conditioned since caveman years, since we were born, to be dependent on men. And I think that through evolution, our roles as women, like you said, have been the nurturers, have been, there to sort of be the deep thinkers, be the emotional intelligence side. And I actually got into a conversation with my own father about this. So we're talking about daddy issues. Whether or not you had a good dad, you have daddy issues. We all do. And mommy issues too. And we were really talking about, he's on this kind of train of toxic masculinity and very confused, like men can't be masculine anymore, all this stuff. And I'm like, that's not the case. The problem now is that there's so much more information available to men that we are, as women, I think, are no longer willing to accept this toxic masculinity. It's just unacceptable. And just like, all of us have trauma, we all have things that happen to us, we all have been raised in certain ways. And so everybody's got their shit. Yeah. But once you're an adult, it is your responsibility to learn how to emotionally regulate yourself. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe men are behind in this category. Like they really are. And just like what you said, the man who, you're feeling guilty, you're feeling like, responsible for his emotions, because women have been responsible for men's egos. Yep. That's the end of time. And, we are the more emotionally intelligent, creatures. Men are the ones that used to go to battle. So, I think that there's just, in this modern world where women are staking their claim as truly equals, men are having a hard time with it. And it is harder out there for dating. You have to be so much more clear about what you want and unwilling to entertain anybody who isn't going to meet you at, where you need them to, and be willing to speak your needs, speak your boundaries, and walk away from people. Because I think what we've been taught, and especially I think even as young girls with daddies who may have had, large personalities, we were taught to, soothe their emotional needs before our own. And that's where we come up with the people pleasing and all these sorts of things. And it's this really weird dichotomy with those fathers where you were at least for myself, so dependent on him for so long. Mm-hmm. And then it's like something has shifted now where I don't necessarily need you anymore. And I want to be seen as an equal to you, but you're still my dad. It's a that relationship is really interesting. So I definitely think it plays into the way that we show up in dating. But I think women are just sick of what's going on. They're sick of it. And I mean, I know I can see it online that the comments that pour in most of the time, the negativity, the trolls, it's men coming in with their shallow egos. They're uncomfortable with this dichotomy, and they no longer have this upper hand in dating that they had for so long, because women are just sick of it, and women don't need them. You don't need a partner. You don't need a man. We would want one, but we have to be so much more conscious of who we're choosing to be that partner, because it's just, it's exactly what you've seen, with that guy. It's like, you can't be responsible for soothing his needs and his emotions, or his inept ability to read the situation,
Exactly. His emotional immaturity. I mean, there is such a strong distance, or there's such a huge distance between the maturity of men and women. And listen, this is not all men and this is not all women. No. There's lots of immaturity on both sides. But let's just talk about the emotionally more mature, trying to be better humans every day woman who is like, why can't I meet someone who's at least on my level? Like, can't we just mutually respect each other? Can't we both be growing with each other and with ourselves, trying to figure our shit out? And like, that's it, But it is so, and like, this is true. And they have said this for, years and studies. I'm sorry, the more educated, the smarter a woman is, the tinier her dating pool becomes, because there are so few people that can meet her there, which is why we do see so many of these like boss babes and like amazing women out there who you're like, how are you single? By the way, I'm one of those people. And I'm just like, I am single for a reason. Like, I am not going to settle, first of all. And I know so many of us aren't. And we are looking for that right person, because you're right. We don't need a man. We just don't. I have a friend who's having a baby on her own. She did in vitro and like the whole thing. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of her. She has an amazing career. She's like killing it. And she's like, no, I want a baby. I'm going to do it. And like the man will show up one day when he's ready, when it's good enough, And that's the thing too. I really, really want to make sure like women are just so, if you're thinking like, oh, I do need a man, or I do need to settle, or I do want to have kids, and like I'm running out of time, or all of these things that get you mixed up and settling for the wrong person, you don't really need to do that. But social conditioning, that's a hard thing to get out.
100%. I mean, I know I felt that way. I'm from the Midwest. So my friends were, starting to get married at 23, and I remember I had a boyfriend at 26 that everyone's like, oh, you're going to marry him. And I just panicked. And I was like, I'm not ready for that. I moved to New York, and I was like, I need to figure my life out. And then that's where I really started to like, a lot unfolded for me. I think what happens too as women, we've been hurt so many times that we slowly close up shop, especially successful, smart women are like, I'm not down to open myself up to this pain again. And so oftentimes we can throw ourselves into work, we can throw ourselves into so many other things, and to avoid, it's like, I'm just, and then it's like, well, there's no good men, all these things. And I was definitely one of those, like career focused, I'm going to get to the top. Like I need to, but then along the way, I realized I wasn't dating with strategy at all. Like here I am having a great strategy for my career and all this, great insight. Yeah. But when it came to dating, I still hadn't worked through my self-worth issues. A lot of women experience sexual assault. We have daddy issues. We've got, pains that we need to sort of address and understand what that's doing to us and where we're avoiding things, or maybe where we're anxious about dating. And then I like to teach, successful women, you can apply a very similar strategy from, your work life to your dating life, but you have to date. You actually have to go on the dates. And so it's like, you have to do the research. And I always think the more that you date, the more you're going to learn about yourself, and the more you're going to learn about potential partners. Because I sort of used to date with, of course, just like my intuition, which was totally messed up. Like I used to just, let my lust or whatever run the show. And I figured it out that I was continually attracted to the wrong type of guy. It was definitely recreating dynamics, which we often do, of a parent, Had my people pleasing tendencies, all these things. And that's why I kept getting stuck with the wrong types of guys. And I needed to get very clear with myself on what I wanted, what I was doing to contribute to my situation. So how I was entertaining we call them rosters. That is a losing strategy. I will tell you that.
Yep.
I was doing all of these sorts of things and not sort of addressing like, okay, I'm also not really letting anybody in or giving anyone a chance or getting clear on what I want. And, for me, and I'm sure you might feel the same way, there were a lot of qualities about my father that I actually want in a partner, so, and then on the other flip side, I was like, okay, and I also know now there's qualities that I really don't want in a partner.
Yeah.
And we learned those things, but it was, I really wanted to get clear. I had to get clear with myself, and I had to admit to myself, because I think I was one of the women that always said for decades, I'm never going to get married. I don't want a relationship. I'm cool. Like if it happens, it happens. Like I was very much like, I'm going to be too cool to, to really dig in and find out what I want because I'm afraid of getting hurt. And reading that book, which is so interesting, this Cinderella complex book, the author actually talks about this dichotomy of women. And at that time, it was 1970 or 1980, 1975. So it was like women entering the workforce and very confused about their place in the world. But I still think that's valid. I think women still struggle. Like, it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like if you want to be a mother, if you want to be a working mom, if you don't, like there's so many, judgments on what a woman chooses to do. And it still is an interesting dichotomy. Like, well, can I be a successful woman and work and get married and have a partner and do all those same things? I think it's just getting clear with yourself on what that is that you want, because you can have it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was accepting the fact that I actually did want a partner. Didn't mean that I needed a partner, but even the ability to say, I want a marriage. I want somebody that I can rely on. And I sort of had to hit my own rock bottom to find that moment. Changed everything, because then I'm like, okay, now that I know what I want, what the F have I been doing? Why it's like how, what none of these behaviors that I'm exhibiting are going to get me to the result that I want. And so that's what I teach. I have 2 workbooks that honestly, a lot of people can use and teach themselves. And I just went to the pages and just wrote down everything that I did that worked to find my partner. And as soon as I sort of showed back up in the dating world in a different way, the men like you were talking about that were sort of like narcissistic, the ego, all this stuff, they showed themselves to me a lot quicker. So within a few dates, I was able to identify those characteristics. And I had a roadmap that I wrote out so that I could identify the men and the partners in some people that maybe I initially wouldn't have picked. It's so funny. Like my partner that I have now, I don't know if he wasn't like this like flashy, douchey guy that I would have normally been interested in my past. He was a little bit, nerdier and more introverted and more, just charismatic in our conversations. It was just slower. And I allowed myself to date a lot, again, to see how I felt, with that type of partner, and really looking for, him to demonstrate the qualities of the person that I want as a partner. And it's like, it's way more than just somebody's looks and their job and, these superficial things that we sort of, obviously you learn on a dating app, or you may learn in, the first or second date. There's so much beyond that. And I think we get so sucked into this idea, like after date 1 or 2, I have clients that get, so, over invested so soon. And it's like, I always say, treat it like, it is kind of like job interviews. Like you're interviewing people to be in the most important position in your life, your partner. So like, if you don't have that job description written out, if you don't know the qualities you're looking for, how are you going to identify that when you go out? Because it's too easy to get excited by a pretty face. It is too easy. And those guys, there's certain guys that know they're charming, they're practiced, they've done this before, guys. Like they're not new. And they're fun. And I always think too, like there's a time and place for that type of guy in your life. Just, you have to know what phase you're in. And if you're out there enjoying and having fun and just going out and enjoy that, but you can't have those expectations that those relationships are going to become something. That's where we get like really stuck. And then, but if you're really ready to date with a strategy, I like to teach logic plus lust. I'm like, you need both when you're dating. Cannot let the one side of you, run the show. You really have to approach it in a strategic way.
Yeah.
But I think right now it's challenging. And I see women all the time that are like, he seems so great. And then all of a sudden it's like XYZ came out. And someone can only hide their true self for so long. Mm-hmm. That's why I always say, like, if you think you're dating slow, date even slower. Like, slow things down, slow down the intensity, really use, your logic to get to know people, because I don't even think that some men are aware of their misogynistic traits and qualities at this point.
No, I so agree with that too. I think they're very like, wait, what? Like even this conversation this morning, seriously, he said, I didn't think I was coming on too strong. So I'm not sure what that means. I'm like, okay, you don't even see what you're doing wrong. Like, and that's fine, right? Because we're all learning. But I am so with you on the date slow thing. I don't know. I feel like you can, at least personally, I'll just speak personally, right? Personally, I can kind of sense someone really quickly, but yes, like going on dates with them, people are going to be nervous on that first date, or they're going to say weird stuff or do stuff that they like never would have done before. Like allow for the strangeness to happen. Yes. Go on another date with them. I think the biggest thing, I've had this struggle too, is either it's all lust or it's all logic. And I'm like, ooh, I love that you said that it has to be both. And it does have to be both. You have to be attracted to someone. Like you could be friends with someone and not be dating or thinking about dating them. And then one day you're like, actually, you know what? You might be I think I do like you. And that happens, but there has to have always been something, even subconsciously, some lust, some attraction there. And that's the thing too. I don't want women to just be with the right guy, quote, like the nice guy, the guy that they should be with because it's all good on paper and he's lovely to her and all of the stuff, but like they're not attracted to them. I'm like, you're just with your friends, and then you're going to feel antsy after so many years. You're going to be like, damn it, and that's how affairs happen. So like, don't do that. But it's so hard to find both. So how do you suggest women, once they've kind of, ruled out the fuck boys, basically is what we're trying to rule out here, right? And you're right. Like, that guy who's super handsome and he looks amazing in every single picture. So like, so suave. Like, he just left his professional baseball career recently. Like, the type. Like, don't even like swipe on that person. Just let them keep going. But like, once they've really kind of figured out like, okay, I'm good. How, especially with dating apps, because maybe you see someone who's like not so physically your type, but like not a bad looking person, but he's got all the qualities you're looking for, but you're not immediately like, ooh, I want to kiss him. Like, what do you do? Yeah. Do you swipe on that person or do you not?
I think you should. And I think because again, it's important to investigate what we find attractive. Obviously there's conventionally, attractive people. And we've all been, the movie star type, this tall, handsome guy. And the same thing, men look for the same thing in women. So we have to understand that this goes both ways. Yeah. But you have to be willing to accept an imperfect person and understand that these super hot guys or super hot girls, they're like the top 10%, right? And so they're going to date each other. They have a lot more optionality. They may not be looking to settle down as quickly. They're having, whatever it is. And again, I don't like to judge, not every attractive person is that way, but it's important for you to understand that your initial attraction is made up of a lot of different things, right? It's based on, this kind of conventional attraction. It's based on your own attachment theory and your own attachment style. So there are so many subconscious reasons why you think you may and may not be attracted to somebody. Honestly, so I always say you need to challenge your initial attraction to begin with. So if you're out with somebody, that's why I say, basically, I would say you need to go on 3 dates with someone to even like understand what the heck's going on and how you like interact with that person, what you think about that person. These initial like moments, for instance, because you may have a spark with someone. But again, a lot of these like fuckboys, this is practice. Watch Fuckboy Island. Okay.
Oh, my favorite show. My favorite show, guys. You need to watch this show.
But I'm like, you've got to watch these. It's part of the draw. They want you to fall. They want you to feel special. They're doing all these things intentionally to get what they want. So you need to be smarter to see past that. And that's where you can't trust your first initial physical attraction all the time. So if you're overly attracted to somebody, that's probably a sign that it's going to like spark really big and then fizzle out. Like something is going to, happen. And again, I think we all think that that's the spark that we want for a long-term relationship, but that's actually not. That doesn't give you any indication that that is going to be a long-term partner for you. You just think they're hot or sexy or you're attracted to something. It's fun. It's exciting, but that has nothing to do with who they are as a person. And so this is where I do believe, because I've experienced it, attraction can build with other people. But so if somebody's not your type, I think your type is a terrible thing to have. So if you have a type, you need to look at why you have that type, why you won't look outside that type. I've written a blog about it. So you can go to my website and read why your type might be keeping you single. Because if you're keeping yourself in this little box of this certain type, that type is probably recreating all of your toxic dynamics that you may not even be aware of. And so you've got to come out of that shell and give someone else a chance. If you're ready for a committed relationship, you have got to understand that there is no perfect person out there that's going to just be like, walk up one day and show up in your life. Like, this is where you've got to look at real people, imperfect people, and let those people show up and be who they are. Don't make a judgment about them too soon. And what I like to do is focus on the qualities that you like about them. Because as an avoidant attached person, I used to go on dates and I will tell you, yes, you will immediately focus on the things that you don't like about them, what's imperfect, to push them away, right? You're like, okay, I don't like this, I don't like that. Usually it's physical, or it's like, superficial. You don't know the meat of someone until you've seen them way past 3 dates. So what I like to say is, focus on how you feel on the date, right? On how you physically feel, because we also want to pay attention to how does your body feel? How are you responding to their energy? How does your conversation flow? Look at the person and identify the things that you do find attractive. That's the list to focus on and say, wow, I'm really interested in this. He has a lot to say. He's, and then you'll start to notice things. But if you're going in on the defense, already assuming that he's not good enough, it's so easy to weed people out. And that is how we keep people away from us. And so you have to sit with that discomfort. He's going to see your flaws and you're going to see his. Mm-hmm. That is a true partner. And so you need to think about, notice the things that you like about them physically, notice the things that they do that make you feel special or that you really enjoy. And my golden rule, at least for the first 3 dates, is you should be asking yourself really nothing else except this at the end of the date. It's like, am I curious to know more? Like, am I curious? That's it. It's not, does he meet my checklist? All these things, like blah, blah. As long as you're seeing some of the traits that you like, and you're like, okay, I see some value alignment here. We both kind of want the same things. Like those first 3 dates, you're learning some of those things about each other. Right. And then you're like, I'm curious to know more. And you'll start to get comfortable with each other. And then you're going to the conversations are going to flow and attraction builds from that point. And so I think we shut ourselves down so much because we don't find someone like physically attractive, but that's how funny short guys end up with hot girls, because they've got great personalities, it's like, but you have to let them in and understand that it's up to you to decide if you want to wait for Mr. Perfect. You're going to be waiting a long ass time. And you're not perfect either. So let someone in that's a little bit different. And I think you'll be surprised. And I think that's why people end up realizing that they have feelings for a friend that they didn't look at romantically for so long. Yeah. It's because we go in with all these expectations. But if you can remove those and just get to know the person in front of you, who they are, what they're about, those are the things you need to know. You need to understand their morals, their values. Does what you want align? That's huge. And again, I know people lie, so that's a big one. Women are like, men lie, but I will give you some advice that my actual fiance gave me because we were both actively dating, very open and honest with each other when we met that we were doing that. He was dating other people. I was dating other people. And the one thing he noticed as a man was when he would tell a woman that he wanted a serious relationship, he was looking for a serious relationship. The women, I think, all of a sudden assumed that it was with them, that was like a green light.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think then the other women that dated sort of started to try to push the relationship too quickly, or, sort of like overinvest too soon. And that's kind of a red flag for a guy, because he also wants to feel special. Like you've chosen him as a partner because of who he is, not because he's just insert partner here. I'm a man that's available. So it's really important to think about those things. And that's why I'm like, just slow way down.
Yeah.
And I think in this process, when you move slow, you make space to be able to talk about the things that you want, communicate your needs, and also to check someone when they say things that you don't agree with. Like you need to start to see how he reacts when you set a boundary, or when you say like, I'm not comfortable with that. Or when you say like, we might not be aligned here. Like, let's talk through this. Like you're learning how this person is going to be as a long-term partner. And that's the foundation that you need if you truly want to go the distance. It's not the hot, sexy moment. It's really truly in the details of who somebody is. And that's where, in my workbooks that I talk about getting really aligned on who that person is that you're looking for. And it's not about him, you can change the way a man dresses. You can change his shoes. He can cut his hair.
Right.
Those things are not important. I will tell you, like my mother dressed my father his entire life, and he really was like, I don't care. Like, and he still does it. It still happens to this day. And he's like, it makes her happy. Cool. Like, I don't care. But so you can change certain things, and you need to understand the difference of what you can influence as a woman and what's important to you. Because if somebody realizes it's important to you that he wears nicer shoes, then great, he'll do it. Right. You're not going to get this like perfectly polished man. And I think that's where successful women are looking for the version of themselves out there. And those are very few and far between, a guy that's got the fashion sense down and the job and it's a lot to ask. So, find the personality in someone. But again, the more time you spend with them is where you're going to see the red flags start to come out, and when you push, when you don't push intimacy too soon, you don't get sexual with people too soon, you're going to start to see what they're really in it for. And I always say, like, how long can a man really hide his true self? Probably a month, maybe a little bit longer. I don't know. And you make it played. It's going to happen. But I feel like you can really, if you're paying attention, the red flags show. But it's when you get stuck in this little love bubble in your head where you just decided that this guy's amazing and he's it, and you've lost all sense of logic, your lust just take it over and you cannot see through it. And that's how we get hurt.
It's so true. And also, I want to go back to just like saying what you need, putting up your, not putting up, but like putting your boundaries down and talking about the hard stuff. You can only really do that with someone that you're starting to feel comfortable with. And that 100%. Is something that to me is a huge red flag that the relationship isn't working, is if you feel like you can't say something.
Yes,
if
absolutely.
They have already been projecting things to you that even you're just subconsciously picking up, and you're like, ooh, I want to say something, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose him, or something bad is going to happen. Girl,
you've already
that's
lost
not
him.
your guy.
You've already lost him.
Yeah, he's not yours. No? That's not your guy.
When we let that lust take over, we overcompensate. And so when you're not clear about your boundaries, you will press them when you're in an uncomfortable position, or you don't want to lose somebody or whatever it is, but that's coming from a lack of place. And then that type of man is not going to respect you anyways. So if you let him walk all over you, you're losing. So it's important, because I was kind of this chill, cool girl. And again, I think my content sort of gets misconstrued sometimes. You can be chill and have boundaries, right? Like you don't have to be like an intense, like boss woman. But when I say chill girl, I mean someone who was like, go with the flow, whatever he says, whatever, because I don't want to press it. But men will tell you right off the bat, they don't want a relationship. They're not that type of guy, like certain things. And you're not listening. Like I wasn't listening. I was still trying to push them into things, or manipulate it, or change it, or show them how great I was. And they're never going to see it. And ultimately, it's the first step in my attract commitment workbook was like, draw the line in the sand. Like, you have to be done with that and know that if you're entertaining a man like that, he is holding up someone else's spot. Like, and you can't keep him there as like, oh, maybe, and I'll keep dating, because he is holding up that energy that is for your partner. And if someone's in that spot, your partner is not coming in to claim their spot. Like, you have to be so comfortable and confident to say, I trust that my person's out there. I'm going to find them. I'm going to date with strategy, and I'm going to be patient. And it may take a while, but it also goes back to like dating. Sometimes there has to be a hustle for some of us to get there. You may have to date a lot. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. The more you'll be able to sniff and out the, and suss out the red flags quicker. And it's okay. But I think the hardest thing, for women right now, especially the successful women, is sort of showing up to dating with that same energy as we do for work, and of course, if we got a dating strategy, like, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to show up, like, here we go. And I have to pull my clients back sometimes to say, be like the onion. Let him peel you open a little bit. Don't throw it out on the table.
Please
and
don't.
and just sit back a little bit and receive. Like, let him lead. Like, this is where you're sussing him out to see what actions is he going to take? How is he going to, play this? Not to play games, but it's just like, I'm curious. Again, like, play the curious cat. And you're going to start to see things unfold before you when you're not trying to push or manipulate or like make things happen. You just have to let them happen. And that is the hardest part about strong, successful women, because we don't like to sit back and like let things happen. We make shit happen.
Right.
So you've got to be able to like embrace that, sort of softer feminine side to just say, I'm curious, like, I'm going to see what he does here. And that doesn't mean disengage. That doesn't mean don't text first. That doesn't mean any of those things. You can still just be authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
But just slow down, like, sit back. And I think what happens is we just struggle sitting in that discomfort.
Yes. Oh, that is so true, because so listen, old school feminine masculine woman, Pat Allen, like, came out with all of this stuff like gazillions of years ago. And like, she is so accurate still. Like, we're always in our masculine when we're at work, right? When we're getting what we want, we're in our masculine. But like, those women who are successful, who are constantly like, go, hustle, we do have such a hard time leaning back and allowing we have a hard time receiving. That's the thing I've been working on this whole year, is just like letting myself receive, allowing receiving to happen, allowing people to, give to me, and letting myself just be, this is it. I think you're so spot on with giving way too much information at first. Girls, ladies, women, please hold back. That is when you should be chill. You should just chill the fuck out. Just like, here's a little bit about me. Go ahead and talk. And men will talk. Now, first of all, if they're just going to talk forever and you never get a chance to speak, that's a whole other thing. We got to talk about that. But like, that's not a good sign. But like, no, let them say, because men are so transparent in the beginning, even if they're trying to play some sort of game, they will tell you who they are.
100%. Yeah.
Oh my God. That is the time you listen. You're like, oh, you don't want kids and you don't want to get married. Okay. All right, cool.
And then you say, we don't want the same things. Nice to meet you. Bye. Like, that's what you say.
Exactly.
I just think that we have to remember, even when you're in your masculine and you're like a boss bitch in your own life and you don't need a man still needs to feel wanted. And so he needs to have a place in your life. So you have to let him have one. And that is, I think, the hardest thing when you are super independent, this hyper independence. But I teach this like philosophy, and I know we all talk about like being a queen, like we're all queens, but it's truly like, think about being like a real queen, right? Like a real queen lets people come in and do their jobs, do their roles, and like is confident in her position, right? You need to let him come in and do things for you, and and plan things for you, and be masculine. Because if you shut down his masculine, he is not going to feel like that connection with you. And so like I feel like very like right up front, it's important to be honest. Like when I met my fiance, I had a new job, I was super busy, super stressed, but I was curious. I wanted to get to know him. And I said it right up front. I said, listen, I'm so sorry, I have a new job. I don't want you to think that I'm uninterested. I just don't have time to like chat or plan any dates. So I would really appreciate it if you took the lead on that. And, and know that like he was like, heard it, got it. So when he would go to plan a date, he would usually like, hey, here's some options. What way would you like to go? X, Y, Z. And so men are so much easier than we think. It's just tell them what you want and see how they react. And you're gonna get a lot farther to see how they're reacting to you. But it's the pushing, I think, because, and I always say this to clients, we get so excited about wanting a relationship, marriage, kids, all these things that we are pushing relationships that may not be meant to be pushed. So you have to just sit in the moment and be calm through that initial dating stage. And you have to be able to have those tough conversations with him. You need to see how you guys interact and how you handle conflict or, mishaps. All those things are going to happen. That's what you're looking at to see. And then after a certain point, right, like you've dated enough, you're then going to graduate and say, like, let's move this into a committed relationship. And you need to be comfortable with that conversation as well. Because even if things are going great, you don't want to go through that. And I don't even like to talk about a talking stage. I don't even say that. I don't understand what that is. There's an initial dating stage, and then you graduate and you commit. And until you commit, you should assume that you're both seeing other people, and you should see other people. And so you have to decide what you're comfortable with when it comes to like moving things forward, sex. And that's another thing with this like culture we're in. A lot of people think 3 dates, let's have sex, whatever.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of men will pressure you at that point. And then you're going to start to see what he's really in for. And so, it's just slow down and wait. And I think in this culture, the men that you want, it's just, you got to go find them. You got to get them out of their shells. You've got to put the work in too. And these misogynistic assholes are hopefully they're going to, weed themselves out.
I hope so.
Call them on their shit. Like, honestly, you need to call people on their shit. And I've done it so many times, and they need to hear it. They need to hear from you, and you need to tell them exactly how you feel and be willing to walk away.
And it's so empowering when you do, you're like, shit, I just did that. I just stood up for myself. I told this person what was wrong, what they were doing wrong, and it's not okay. And you are so empowered to just go forth and date stronger, And I also love what you were saying too, is like, give men a chance to be basically men. Let them plan the dates, don't think, oh, well, it's got to be equal. It has to be 50-50. Like, no, like give them a job. Like, men love to be given a task. They do. They love it. There was this one time, I love this story. I wish I could relive this memory, like in real life again. I had a ton of luggage with me, and it was for an award show. And I walked into this huge like arena, and I was just like, and someone was like, yeah, you're right up here, up those stairs. I'm like, is there an elevator? God. And they're like, no. And I'm like, I literally dropped my stuff, and I saw all these guys like, trying to put the stage together. And I was like, can I get a man to help me? And do you know, these guys dropped what they were doing and came right over to me and were like, sure, what do you need? What do you need? They love helping. They do. Yeah. Women, we love to care. We want to help and care and do the nurturing and all this stuff. We have our things that we love to do. Now, mind you, this is not about being male or female. This is about the masculine or the feminine and where you kind of like vibrate from, right? Yeah. But in a like, straight relationship, most men are kind of like gear more on the masculine, and women are going to gear more on the feminine. That's just using as an example. But seriously, give them a task so that way, when they need the nurture, when they need the caring, I don't know if you watch the show, but I love Married at First Sight. And I just started.
I haven't watched it. It's on my list.
It just started. And it was so sweet. This one guy, they're at their wedding, and he's cold. He's like a really tall, like thin sort of dude. And he's just cold. It was like a cold night. You can tell people are freezing. And his wife is like, waving over to someone. She's like, can I get a heater over here? My man's cold. And man, his face just lit up because he felt cared for. He felt loved. He felt seen. And he said that. And I was like, it is the little things. It's how we can show our appreciation,
Yeah.
And like, if
it's about balance,
it is about balance.
I think that's where I always say, like, no matter your gender, right? The gender, like, or your partner, you want to think about where you sit on like the masculine, feminine scale, and you need someone to balance you out. I think the best dynamic is somebody finding a partner that's comfortable ebbing and flowing with you. So for me, like, I know when I need to be in my feminine with my partner, when I need to be my masculine. And I think once we got past that initial dating phase, we were able to like ebb and flow with each other. Now, some people aren't comfortable ebb and flowing. And I think and a whole other topic that we could talk about is being comfortable with a man swinging into his feminine as well. And you sort of ebbing and flowing, because we talk about toxic masculinity, but we also then have to have space for men to have a more soft, vulnerable side. And so, and we can't judge them for that, And so that is truly getting comfortable with our own idea of masculinity. And I talk about this with my partner always, because I'm like, I look at you as so strong, and sometimes he can't be strong, and I need to be strong for us. Right. And so it's ebbing and flowing in that. But just remembering the way that you show up, if you're putting on that most masculine self, because most of the time for women, it's because we don't want to be vulnerable and we want to be impenetrable. We're like, I'm so tough, you can't hurt me. And then that's going to, your energies are just going to deflect. And so it's like a shield. And so you have to be able to pull that shield down and let somebody in, and play with those energies. But, you have to let a man be a man, that's just a part of it. And hopefully you'll find somebody that balances you out, But I think these days, more than ever, it's important to understand, people's morals and values as women. A lot of scary stuff is going on out there. And you need to make sure that you have a partner who truly supports your safety, your security, your rights. I mean, there's so many things. And I've had women say, how do you know if he supports your rights, or how do I know? And I'm like, well, it's kind of clear. Usually, if you ask political affiliations, not always though. But these days it's getting pretty black and white, unfortunately, for a lot of women. So you need to have those tough conversations with people, and you need to ask those important questions, because committing your life to somebody, this is the person that's going to be by your side, that's going to hopefully take care of you you're going to take care of each other. And you need to know that like those really important things align. So I always say, I think there's like a lot of research out there. It says like, marriage values, family values, like do you both want kids, your actual, like your drinking habits, drinking habits, drug habits, all those sorts of things, financial habits. Those are things that are going to really look for, like, make you compatible or could make it right.
Absolutely. Lisa, you're the best. You come on again. Let's do another podcast.
Oh yeah. We've got so much we could talk about. Like, I've got this.
Oh my gosh. Tell people how they can find you.
Yes, absolutely. So I am at LBLItUp on Instagram, TikTok, and you can visit my website, lblitup.com, to find out all my goodies there.
Yay! And everything will be in the show notes. Just click on those links. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
This was so much fun. We have to do it again.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. Make sure to rate the podcast and leave a review. We really rely on this to help get the podcast out there. Also, make sure to watch the video version on YouTube at That Girl the Podcast.